I'd like to say hello to everyone that is here, and welcome to the celebration of the Native American Heritage Month, November. November is always a busy month. Throughout all the states, there is some activity going on in our schools. Just last week, in one of our schools there in Carnegie, Oklahoma, my grandson that stays with me and takes care of me, they did a show commemorating the Native American Heritage Month. I was proud of him, and we talked about it. He asked me what I thought. I said, well, I've did them before, and I said, you do what you wanted. I said, like John Wayne said, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. My man Duke. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my nephew here, Colonel Bryce, gave you a pretty good rundown on who I am. But I made a few notes here. I thought I might pass it on to you. My name is Parker Mholan. Mholan translated means in Kiowa, coming to kill. Mholan. And I'd like to tell you that I'm part Arapaho, besides being Kiowa. My grandma, years ago, God rest her soul, she took me from our family and made me her favorite son. I was what we call in Kiowa, all-day Tali. She favored me, and I could do no wrong. She didn't speak no English, so she taught me how to speak Kiowa. I was going on 10 years old when she passed away. She got sick. But I never forgot speaking Kiowa, and I'm proud of that. And to this day, I think I'm one of the very few from the Kiowa tribe that still speaks the Kiowa language. And most recently, like last month, I have a friend that's a teacher at the Lawton High School. They inaugurated and took on in their curriculum teaching the Kiowa language in Lawton High School. And I saw him after that, and I told him, he is Kiowa and Apache. And I said, Carlos, if you ever need help teaching Kiowa in your school, give me a call and I'll be glad to come and help you out. I said, I might know a little bit more than you how to speak it. So we got a good laugh out of it. Well, he hasn't called me, so he's doing all right. But ladies and gentlemen, I had another friend that was an instructor at the Comanche Nation College, and he taught Kiowa. And my wife, Tina, was one of his students. So I helped her along while she was going to school there. And he used to leave and go on a workshop or something, and he would call me and say, brother, I need your help. I said, what can I do for you? What can I do for you, Bobby? brother. He said, I'm going on a workshop and can you stand by for me and take my class? I said, boy, I sure like to. So the students that he had, they had a hard time with pronunciation. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the Kiowa tribe is kind of a hard language to learn. But we got along pretty good. Like we call like condiments, salt. They said, how do you say it in Kiowa? I said, all time. And that's where it gets them. You got to have that. All time means salt. And they say, how do you say pepper, black pepper? And I said, soy seongya. Ongya. They couldn't say that. But we had a lot of fun. But getting back to tell you about my life, there were 7 of us brothers. I had an older brother named John Jr., and he was in the 45th Division when they mobilized from Oklahoma, and they went to Fort Polk, Louisiana. At that time, it was called Camp Polk. And they mobilized in 1950, 51, and they went to Korea. But before he left, my mother and my father, we went down there to see them off. Well, he went to Korea, they landed at Busan, and they went up to Daegu. So one day I came home from school, I was still in high school. And I was listening to the news from our local radio station in Anadarko. And it was talking about his unit. His unit, he was Battery B, 58th Field Artillery Battalion, 45th Division. And they was getting a hard time. The North Koreans were hitting them pretty hard, and they was suffering a lot of casualties. So after the news went off, I made up my mind. When I graduated from high school, I was going to join the service. So I told my mother and my father, I said, I heard some bad news on the radio, and I need to do something to help this war effort, especially for Yo-Yo. I said, his unit got hit pretty hard. They had a lot of casualties, and I said, I need to do something. So I'm going to join the service. So I made my way up to Oklahoma City, Chickasha, Oklahoma, and I missed the Marine recruiter. So I talked to the Army, and they said, well, you got any broken bones? I said, well, I broke my ankle playing football. They said, well, can't use you. I wanted to be a paratrooper. So I didn't go in the Army. So I talked to the Navy man, and I said, nah, I don't want to be aboard ship. So there's too much water out there, and I said, I said, I'll make it to see the Marine recruiter. So I caught a bus, and I went to Oklahoma City. I saw the recruiter. I signed up. So on the 24th of September, 1951, I became a Marine. I went through boot camp. I had a birthday. I turned 19 years old. Well, in 1953, February, a troop ship out of San Francisco, Camp Richards, and it was a troop ship called General William S. Weigel. And there was 5,000 of us troops in the replacements going to Korea. We got to Japan, we landed in Yokohama. And then we boarded troop trains. And they took us up to Itami Air Force Base, and we got on airplanes. And they flew us to Korea. And they dropped us off at different places there. I wound up right southeast of Incheon. Those of you may are interested or you read about the Korean War, a lot of people don't know anything about it. It's a forgotten war. Well, to me it wasn't. So I was there March the 1st, and it wasn't very long. I got my baptismal of fire, and it was winter, snow all over, very cold, 30, 40 degrees below zero, and we laid in that snow and we fought the war. Consequently, July 1953, the armistice was signed, the war was over. But so I had a birthday while I was in Korea. I turned 22. So after December 1953, they asked for volunteers to go to Japan. I went to Japan. I volunteered. I was always volunteering for something. I wanted to be in the action, whatever it was. So I went to Japan. I went to Atsugi. I stayed there until I rotated back home in March. Then I went to Camp Pendleton. That was just like my second home. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to make a long story short, like my nephew said, I was a participant in Korea during the war, and then I went to Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, 1962, November, and then I left there in February 1963. Then they stationed me in North Carolina at Cherry Point. It was it was east of New Bern, north of Jacksonville, and west of what was that little bitty town, Morehead City. So I stayed there, and then I got a call. They said, we're sending you to Camp Pendleton for further transport. You're going to Vietnam. And I said, oh my God. So I went to Vietnam, first tour. 1966, I was in 1966, I was in Vietnam. And I had one of my younger brothers was a little snotty-nosed brat when I left home. And they pulled me off the line, and they said, I went to talk to the colonel. He said, Sergeant Muller, do you have a brother? I said, I've got 6 brothers. He said, do you have one named Hubert? I said, yes, sir. You know where he's at? I said, he's at home. He says, no way. He's in country. He's up above Da Nang. He's up at Phu Bai. And I had put in for R&R. I was going to Hong Kong to get away from that place. So I said, well, I'd like to change my orders, and I'd like to go to Phu Bai, see my brother. So ladies and gentlemen, he and I, we spent Thanksgiving in the foxhole bunker. And it was just like what I left down south of July. I was in the same thing. It was terrible. Well, I got back to my unit, and the colonel says, he said, Chief, you're going to stay back here with me. I said, well, what am I going to do? He said, you'll be my police sergeant. I said, what am I going to be doing? He said, you'll be in charge of the details to keep our camp clean. I said, well, it's dirty. Why don't you just leave it that way? He said, no. He said, you'll take care of it. I said, so I came back to the States. December 1966. One of the few times I was home for Christmas in my 30 years in the Marine Corps. I was home. I was stationed at Yuma, Arizona. Then I got orders to go back to Vietnam in 1970. So I went back. Oh, the unit that I went to in 1966 was the 1st Marine Division, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines. Tough outfit. And then when I went back in 1970, I was assigned to 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines, and that was 3rd Marine Division. And that was a tough outfit too. So, being a young guy and full of spunk, I did what had to be done. A man's got to do what a man's got to do. Oh. So I survived that, but it got really hairy, and I told my commanding officer, I said, sir, when I get home, I'm putting in my letter, I'm going to retire. I said, this is getting too hairy for me. He said, well, you do what you want to do. I said, I'm going to do that. So when I came home, that's what I did, ladies. So I retired. I went into the inactive reserve for 10 more years. And then I found a job. I worked for Valley National Bank of Arizona. I worked with them until I retired. But in the meantime, I received my retirement notice from the Marine Corps and they gave me credit with President Nixon. President Nixon signed my discharge, and he gave me credit for 30 years of service to the government of the United States, and I'm so proud of that, ladies and gentlemen. And all during the times that I was in combat, I was telling you about my brothers. There was 3 of us that went into the Marine Corps. Myself, my brother Bucky that I went to see at Fubai, and my little brother, James Michael, lives in Oklahoma City. We all served in Vietnam, and we're all combat Marines. And then my older brother, he passed away, John Jr., was in the 45th Division. And then I got a younger brother named Farrell, went in the Army, and he served in Germany. And when he got out of the Army, he went to work for IRS. And then I got another brother, his name is Lonnie, and he went into the Army. So my mother was a Gold Star war mother, and she was always getting notices and everything for being a mother of 6 servicemen. She was proud. She taught me a lot of things. She said, one day you're going to have to cook for yourself. You're going to have to wash your own clothes. You're going to do all things for yourself. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. So I said, okay. So it was true. I used to go out there behind the barracks and wash my clothes, hang them up. Then I iron them, hang them up in my wall locker. And I stayed sharp, ladies and gentlemen. And to this day, I look at myself before I leave home and see if I'm all right. And if I got a big deal coming up, I'll go get my hair cut. Marines stay sharp. Oh, feel sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to pass on to you that I enjoyed seeing all of you here. And I appreciate you and I love you. God bless you. That's why I went in the service, to not only serve for our people, the Indian people, but for you. Besides. Thank you so much. Let's enjoy ourselves. God bless you. Oh.
Oh, Siggy. Thank you, Uncle. I can listen to him all day, but unfortunately, we don't get the room all day. Thank you so much for your service, Siggy. The things that you've done go well beyond a lot of the capacity of what people these days can really understand and appreciate. But now the time has come for our youth to showcase a little bit more. They gave us a taste earlier when we had some white space to fill. But they gave us a taste. But now we want more. So please welcome the Jemez Valley High School Dance Group. This group is a program within the Jemez Valley Public School System in New Mexico. The youth in the group range from 9th to 12th graders and come from the pueblos of Jemez, Laguna, Okai, Owega, Zia, Cochiti, and Hopi. The mission of the group is to help preserve their centuries-old cultures by learning and practicing traditional dances and songs. The group will dance to songs in Toa language. They will perform the buffalo dance of Jemez Pueblo. This dance brings blessings to the world, and the songs speak to their ancestors and shows their strength of culture to the world that we know today. So ladies and gentlemen, the Jemez Valley High School Youth Dancers. Ladies and gentlemen, how was that performance, huh? Fantastic. So, full disclosure, Admiral Foster, I did not put you in the lineup. That was not me. So I apologize on behalf of everyone present that you have to follow that, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Rear Admiral Foster, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a reward by not putting me up there and dancing today. Honor and respect to Dr. Hicks, all of our senior leaders, and our military personnel and our civilian personnel, and most of all, our Native American warriors. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm going to bring some honor to those who have given their life in the past, and I also want to just thank those who are going to give their life in the future. We see these young personnel up here today, and they're ready to fight. They're ready to win the wars that were won before us. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I just got struck by that dance. It's like a celebration of life. It's like incredible, and like we're really defenders of life. That's why we're here. We have sovereign nations that we're a part of. We're very significantly tied to sovereign nations with very specific tribal relationships with the federal government. But we also are part of the team, of the collective team that we all have to defend our nation together. So thank you, Mado, for that. Hey, She, my name is Calvin Foster. I grew up as a Muskogee Creek Indian in Bristow, Oklahoma. Please raise your hand if you know where Bristow, Oklahoma is. It's taken me 32 years of service to get into a crowd where I can actually people know where Bristow, Oklahoma is. I tell them it's just outside of Slick and just south of Manford. People usually get it when I say that. But certainly growing up in the Muskogee Creek Nation traditions, and part of that team, and with the recent decisions, even with the McGirt decision about the restoration of sovereignty, I think it's just kind of renewed a whole sense of discussion for us as Native American veterans and tribal members and citizens, with new opportunities in the government to look at things differently, with nominations directly to the academies, with recognition of federal employment and who you are in beyond just Alaskan Native or Native American. Because when I grew up, you were Creek Indian. You weren't necessarily Native American. You were Creek or Cherokee or Seminole. So those are some areas where I think we can look at to improve. I do want to honor my forefathers. My grandfather, Arthur Foster, who fought in World War II Army. My father, Air Force Captain George Foster, who didn't fight in Vietnam, was stationed in Maine, fortunately for me, because that's where I was born. My uncle, Colonel Steve Foster, who fought with you, sir, in Korea. And then my late uncle, who I never met, Calvin Deal, shot down an F-105 in 1967. I was born in 1970. So that POWMIA flag that was just flown earlier hits me in the heart, because for 6 years my aunt did not know the situation that happened with Uncle Calvin. And I was fortunate to be named after him, to carry his name forward to honor him. We found out later he was killed instantly after his ejection from his aircraft. But we carry on his memory. The Naval Academy took me as a 17-year-old from Bristow, and then I found out later that I was really following a tradition there. Ernest Evans, Jocko Clark, Wes McCall, other people who have served in the Navy, had gone through the Naval Academy and served in their nation. And I'm really here to testify to the Navy's dedication to Native Americans. The Navy recently, I got some great news, and if you don't know this, please hoop and holler, because the Navy recently named the first ship after the Muskogee Creek Nation, TATS-10. Just a few months ago, we were down in Houma, Louisiana. My wife, Nicole, can you raise your hand? So Nicole is the co-sponsor of the ship. So her name, Jerry Wiesner's name, our Attorney General, and Chief Hill are all etched in the keel-laying stone, the keel-laying plate of TATS-10 down in Houma, Louisiana. Will be built in about a year and a half. Ms. Berger, I hope you or some other leaders will be able to be there to join us in that celebration, as you have also with the Navajo-class salvage and rescue ships. These 10 ships they're going to be carrying not only the responsibility of being a salvage and rescue ship. These are designed by the Navy to be auxiliaries in the battle, not only to execute unmanned systems capabilities or diving or repair or recovery, but they'll also be speaking the names of tribes and Native American warriors across the world for decades to come. Isn't that cool? So we think of Native Americans a lot of times as people in the past. We're people of the future. And these ships are going to carry those names to the future. These 10 ships include the name of the first ship, which is always the name of the class. So the Navajo, we owe you one. Thank you for being the first. The Navajo is TATS 6. The Cherokee Nation, Cherokee, where are you? There we go. The Cherokee Nation was just given her christening just a few months ago. And then it'll be followed by the Saginaw Ojibwe Ashinabek, Lenni Lenape, the Nisqually with Billy Frank Jr., Solomon Atkinson, a SEAL from the Shimshinian in Alaska, Master Chief James Fairbanks, Chippewa, the Narragansett, and one to be named this month, we think. I think there's one more left. I won't not speak any further on that, but we're hoping there's another one soon. These ships will carry the languages, the symbols, the colors, and the tribes for decades across the waterways of the world, and remind people of the sovereignty and partnership we have in war and peace. It's our desire that these ships will be a source of pride in Indian country, as well as a clear manifestation of America's desire to honor our Native American heritage. Secretary Del Toro actually last year, right about today last year, named the latest Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, DDG-141. And if you all know what a battleship is, these destroyers are the modern-day battleships, after a Native American hero by the name of Ernest Evans. Ernest grew up in Muskogee and Pawnee, Oklahoma, and it was not until he was in his teens that he was even allowed the right to vote. 1924 is when this Indian Citizenship Act, can you imagine? So he grows up, he gets citizenship, he joins the Marine Corps for a year, then he comes to the Naval Academy, graduates in 1931, his junior year at the Naval Academy, and I encourage everyone to go to the Naval Academy. It's not too far. Nicole and I will be there tonight at the Naval Academy Heritage Center with Blake Simmons and the Cherokee midshipmen and the team out there. But in the middle of the yard is the standing, towering Native American warrior. In 1930, Ernest Evans is a midshipman at the Naval Academy. This is things raised up in the heart of the Naval Academy, celebrating Tecumseh, great Shawnee warrior. His mother was Creek, of course, so we claim him a little bit in our tribe. But we've since come to find out that that particular headstone was also Tamanan. So I know we got some folks from Delaware here too. So we characterize him as both Tecumseh and Tamanan. But I thought it was just a fascinating piece. Can you imagine the pride that Ernest Evans would have had when that statue was raised for Tecumseh in the middle of his tenure at the Naval Academy? I believe it was an inspiration for him because he went on to become a surface warrior and command 2 ships in the early between 1931 and 1944. His last ship, and the ship he gave his life on, was the USS Johnston. In the Battle of Samar, one of the most gallant actions in the United States Navy history. His actions ensured victory against overwhelming odds. He famously told his crew, "This is going to be a fighting ship. I intend to go in harm's way. And anyone who doesn't want to go along there better get off the ship right now." I think you know a little bit of that, Staff Sergeant. Does that sound like a Native American warrior to you? So Ernest Evans takes his ship, turns it into the face of oncoming fire from a Japanese battle fleet to defend the landing force and saving lives, countless lives in the Battle of Samar. He went down with his ship in 1944, and so we're thankful that that Secretary Del Toro named one of the greatest warships of all time is being built right now, DDG-141. Secretary Deb Holland, she is the ship sponsor, and our tribe and many others will stand alongside this ship as it becomes the most advanced warfighting ship in history. Lastly, I just want to say that Nicole and I and the Muskogee Creek Nation just ask for God to bless our United States and our Native American tribes and the men and women who serve in our both our nation, our sovereign nations, as well as our United States nations. So Mado, and thank you for all of us who are here together.
Thank you, sir. Those inspirational words really hit us where we lived. And then it's wonderful to see the Department of Defense recognizing the contributions of Native Americans across history. And now, Ms. Bolger. The Honorable Meredith Bolger assumed the responsibilities as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Energy, Installations, and Environment. I don't know what that is, but it sounds really, really important. She assumed those responsibilities in 2021, so she's been serving in the administration for a pretty long time. Ms. Bolger has served in a variety of policy and senior leadership positions, both interfederal and state governments. Please welcome Ms. Bolger.
Good afternoon. I echo the warm welcomes of everybody who came before me, and it fills my heart up to be with you all today. I'm glad that we're here this afternoon, spending this time in this way. As a few folks have noted, we're always going so fast in this building. We're in so many different directions that we forget to pause and take meaningful time to focus, to listen, to learn. And in the Pentagon time that often clicks along in crisp half-hour increments, the few hours that we're spending here today are meaningful. So thank you, Secretary Owens, Ms. Sylvester, and the team at Washington Headquarters Service, as well as all of the service leads for dedicating purposeful time and space today and for bringing us all together. And for those who have joined us from the other side of the Pentagon, the other side of the city or the country or the internet, thank you. And for those who have and will share song, dance, and story with us, thank you for teaching us and honoring us. Now, a phrase I've written and repeated numerous times in this job is the following: the Department of the Navy honors tribal sovereignty, is committed to continuing dialogue and meaningful nation-to-nation consultation with all tribal nations, including those that have treaty rights and reserved rights on ancestral lands, and cultural and natural resources on installation lands. But what does that mean? It's a commitment. It means we have an enduring relationship, even and especially when it's hard. It's a promise to keep the words and work among us open, honest, and action-oriented. We do what it takes to do the right thing. That hasn't always been the case. In the 1800s, the Navy bombed the Alaskan villages of Kakenangoon, killing and injuring tribal members. For nearly 200 years, we did not acknowledge the intergenerational harm that this event caused. This fall, the Navy apologized, which allows communication to open and healing to begin. Now, while it is very late, it's never too late to do the right thing, and it's never too hard to do the right thing. And the Department of the Navy is finding opportunities to educate ourselves, learn from the past, collaborate in the present, and create promise for the future. Now, as we've discussed here today, there are a few that are more service-minded than Native American and Indigenous people. Now, while each tribe has distinctive war cries and lulus and practices, with the highest level of service, as several mentioned, in any demographic group in the nation, a Marine Corps oorah, or a Navy hoo-yah, or cadence will quickly unite anyone in a room. Now, some of the best of my professional and personal, because this is personal, education and growth in this job has come through learning from and developing relationships with some of our tribal partners. Now, you'll see that I'm wearing a few items, clothing, jewelry. They're special to me. They're gifts from members of different tribes that they gave to me at significant points during our relationships. Now, I've learned gifts demonstrate value, respect, appreciation, and I am honored to wear them and share them with you. Now, I'm wearing earrings here. I don't know how far away these are visible, but they were presented to me from the chairman of the Walker River tribe in Fallon, Nevada. There, the Navy has Naval Air Station Fallon, home of Top Gun. It's not in Miramar. And also the ancestral lands of the Fallon tribes. Areas of tremendous cultural and environmental significance. Now, Chairman Torres presented these earrings to me at the Pine Nut Festival, where earlier in the day, the powwow opened with a military color guard, much like the one that you saw today, and where that evening we included Mr. Ohanessian, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Environment and Mission Readiness, Mr. O. We joined hands and danced like this under the desert sky for a good pine nut harvest and a successful agreement to modernize the range and protect tribal and natural resources. We figured out how to train like we fight and prioritize and protect what we value. Now, this ribbon skirt, and I'm going to jump out, is from the chairwoman of the Fallon Paiute Shoshone tribe. When her nephew was graduating from boot camp at Great Lakes about this time last year, Chairwoman Toonie Williams graciously offered to have a talk for Native American Heritage Month. At the end of her talk, she surprised me with this skirt, saying I was out in Fallon so much I needed the right thing to wear. And Sailor Sean, as we've come to call him, is graduating from Corman School in the coming weeks. He's going to be a doctor. And he thinks he'll make a career of the Navy. And this necklace from Chair Forceman of the Suquamish tribe. Always paddles up for good luck. Uniquely, tribes in the Pacific Northwest, to include the Squamish, hold rights under treaties in the United States. There they have a right to subsistence and commercial fishing, access to usual and accustomed fishing areas, and to collect half of the harvestable salmon and shellfish stocks. At the beginning of this year, we marked the 50th anniversary of the Bolt decision, a legal case which affirmed these rights. Now, these rights depend on a healthy ecosystem that assures clean and available water, biodiversity, environment, and habitat. They depend on environmental stewardship. Now, in the Department of the Navy, we consider environmental protection and stewardship as essential to mission readiness. And so do the Suquamish. As it turns out, whether we're talking about national security or treaty rights, and we're talking we need the same environment and resources to support the mission. Now, as the Navy continues the Shipyard Infrastructure Optimization Program, SIOP, in the Pacific Northwest at Puget Sound, it is in partnership with the Suquamish that we work together to protect resources, respect tribal treaty rights, and assure our national security mission. And because of these partnerships, these relationships, we easily see other ways to work together. In Navy Region Pacific Northwest, we have an annual tribal council meeting where all of the tribes in the region are invited to participate and discuss issues of concern. Last year was my first chance to attend, and one of the topics that I raised was the issue of climate change. When Tiger Peony of the Spokane saw this issue on the agenda, he and another council member, James, got in the car and drove across the difficult pass of the Cascade Mountains to attend. At the meeting, Tiger raised his hand to speak and said that he didn't know the Navy was working on climate change. He said he came to the council meeting because they were experiencing the threat of climate change firsthand. The environment was not there to support the resources that they needed. Without resources such as salmon and shellfish, the Spokane were no longer having the celebrations around those harvests. And without celebrations, they were not using their language and they were losing it. Staff Sergeant, this is what you were talking about with the Kiowa. Making sure that we keep language, make sure that we have it, the importance of the Kiowa language. We heard the deputy talk about the Navajo language and how it saved our nation. That's the type of existential threat that we're talking about, and it's the valuable things that we find in a language that are part of the national values that we hold dear and commit to defend. So stay committed, keep defending, with tribal and indigenous perspective present. We've tried to do that here in the Pentagon as well, between corridors 1 and 2 on the 2nd floor, thanks to the careful site scouting of Naval, Tribal, and Indigenous Affairs Director Lisa Morales, and then Principal, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Mr. Thompson. You'll see the Pentagon's first Native American service corridor, honoring Native American service throughout history. Thank you, Secretary Owens and Ms. Sylvester, for attending the opening in April. And to my counterparts in Army, Secretary Jacobson, and the Air Force, Secretary Chaudhry, for contributing tribal gifts received by your services so that we can display them together in a place of honor. Please go visit the display, the newest addition to the official Pentagon tour. And by this time next year, I'm looking forward to the walls across from the display being filled with the flags of tribes, which we've invited everyone to contribute to be part of our display. I'm so glad to spend time with you honoring a relationship that I individually and we institutionally hold so dear. Thank you.